A lot of the friction for businesses is actually not the payment itself, it's everything that surrounds it.
There are different payment rails. Nowadays, there is no universal standard protocol.
So when we talk about B2B payments, we need to consider that we are talking about high transaction volumes, that we are talking about suppliers having 5 to 6 different payment options as average because they need to satisfy with customer needs.
Cloud, of course, is the lever for the future in payments.
Cross-border payments between companies were never designed for a world this fast. Most feel they're still too slow, too expensive, and too fragmented, costing businesses billions every year in delays, fees, and operational inefficiencies. But what if global payments felt local? Today, with leaders from PagoNxt by Santander, Microsoft, MangoPay, and Mastercard, we'll explore how modern infrastructure, AI, smart routing, and regulatory innovation can unlock the next era of borderless transactions. Welcome, María Ávila Silván, Susana Rubio, Henderson, and welcome, Silvia Hernández. Shall we start with maybe María Ávila? Basically, can you please tell us what are the biggest inefficiencies in cross-border payments? What do you see there?
I think that cross-border payments nowadays for a business, for a company, are basically representing three different things. One is cost, money, time, and trust. So if I need to think about what are the inefficiencies, basically it's fragmented infrastructure. There are different payment rails. Nowadays, there is no universal standard protocol. Of course, really high fees. You need to think about a foreign, a transaction. So this implies currency volatility, FX, it's involved sometimes when you send the payment, then the settlement occurs in a different day. So the value of the payment can even change. You need to add on top the corresponding intermediary banks markups as well. So it's really expensive. Of course, then the slow settlement. Nowadays, a company that needs to send from a US company to an Indonesian supplier can take up to, I would say, 3 to 5 businesses days. The lack of traceability as well. There is no transparency. There is lack of payment data. And of course, I would add on top of this compliance. There are different jurisdictions, different policies, different anti-money laundering, tax reporting rules. And this adds really complex as well as, when you want to do a chargebacks dispute in a cross-border payment, it's really hard because of the above items I just mentioned. So I would definitely mention those.
Silvia, how do you think that cloud technology can improve the scalability of cross-border payments?
Cloud technology is foundational for scaling global payments. If we look at traditional fragmented infrastructure on payments in the past, simply wasn't designed for the level of volumes, for the level of complexity, or for the level of speed we have in today's B2B cross-border transactions. But on the other hand, if we take cloud platforms like, for example, Microsoft Azure, can provide global scale, but also elastic compute and built-in compliance capabilities that allows to the business side to operate worldwide in the different countries in near real time. Looking at PagoNxt example is one of the most advanced payments platform in Europe. We can see that, for example, in 2023 is the public numbers that we have. It moves 1.2 billion transactions across more than 30 countries running on Azure, and also leveraging in cloud services, in cloud native services, like, for example, Kubernetes, like, for example, Cosmos DB, like, for example, Azure API management that allows this kind of scalability they have. This level of global scale, this level of countries' scope will have been cost prohibitive in the legacy infrastructure. Now, moreover, on that topic, I want to mention also that cloud technology unlock modular and API-driven architecture. And that allows for the business side to deploy, to scale microservices that, for example, will allow to the business side to, an example, some new rule in Singapore, for example, new compliance rule in Singapore, or, for example, a new FX routine in Mexico. No? And this can be done instantly and immediately. No? And this is very relevant. But I want to mention also, to finish, that in resiliency side, cloud platform, like, for example, Microsoft Global Footprint, that we have more than 60 regions across the world. And with that globality, we can ensure the high availability that this kind of platforms needs, but also the data compliance resiliency, that it is very relevant for regulatory financial institutions.
Kent, your turn, thinking about like businesses and how MangoPay helps tons of businesses move money everywhere, correct? Just a question in that sense. How can businesses reduce FX costs when they operate globally?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one that lots of businesses face. Really, there's three kind of key enablers for reducing FX costs. The first one is optimizing timing, making transactions at the right time, using spot rates, using guaranteed rates when they make sense for the business. That can really help reduce the costs on a business for FX. The second option is consolidating payments. So it's very frequently that businesses are doing low-value payments with a bunch of different providers. By consolidating those and aggregating those into single movements of funds, they can take advantage of lower fees, they can take advantage of negotiating lower margins on those transactions to really reduce costs further. And then finally is technology enablement. There's so many digital FX providers out there, and they're becoming very industry specific. At MangoPay, we're really focusing on marketplaces and digital platforms that are operating globally. We provide a set of tools that allow those businesses to automate and manage their FX immediately, optimizing for cost, for timing, for consolidation. And so by doing that, businesses can generate percentages at the bottom line of 1% to 3% by just using the right tools, using the right providers, and optimizing their payments at the right times.
Mm-hmm. Susana, in that sense, where do you see opportunities for efficiencies in the B2B sector in payments?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things to do there because we are talking about an ecosystem that is evolving a lot, but it's a complex ecosystem. So when we talk about B2B payments, we need to consider that we are talking about high transaction volumes, that we are talking about suppliers having 5 to 6 different payment options as average because they need to satisfy with customer needs. So this puts everything in a complex ecosystem where even considering all these options, 89 of the suppliers consider that it's very difficult to meet their business needs and also the ones from the customers. So in this ecosystem where sometimes they are receiving late payments, and here we are talking about 34 of the suppliers telling that they receive late payments just because they don't have the payment method that the customer wants to use. So the other thing that we need to consider is also that it's not the same. So the requirements are not the same because we have different verticals that are considering or that have different priorities. So ones are, for example, in the case of retail and healthcare, are more focused on having speed payments to receive them on time. But for example, if we talk about financial institutions that are regulated, they are like more focused on fraud because they need to comply with the regulation. And on top of everything, we have also the geography. So the markets do not have the same requirements. So considering all this, I believe that introducing cards as a payment method is something that can help the ecosystem. So the suppliers that are already using cards see that the processes are more efficient, that they have like more control and more transparency of the payments. So that's one option. And of course, all the things related to embedded finance and APIs. There are a lot of solutions now provided by fintechs and the banks to the different entities that embed all these cross-border services as part of their platforms.
And Susana, regarding cards in account-to-account payment booming, like we have cases like Bizum in Spain, we've got cases like Pix in Brazil. Where do you see, or how do you see Mastercard evolving in the sense that cards are not the only default?
Yeah, so first thing is that we fully support always and we try to enable customer choice. So I believe that, and we talk about B2B options, offering the different payment methods to the companies, and this applies, of course, also to the consumers. So it's great to us that we have like plenty of options in the different segments or for the different types of payments. In the case of Mastercard, of course, I know that we are recognized as a company that a network for card rails, but it's true that we have evolved. So we are now a multi-rail company from, years ago, we already announced that. So on top of all the things that we do, of course, for transactions with cards, we have also additional rails. So we have solutions that can send payments to cards instantly, but also to accounts or to wallets. So this is part of our strategy. And on top of everything, we are offering also services. And when we talk about services, it's providing security solutions, loyalty solutions to all these type of payments.
You mentioned, most of you already mentioned the word regulation, and we do need to comply, but regulators make it more and more difficult for players to operate. I'd like to ask Maria, what solutions are there? Like, for example, with SEPA right now being the new SEPA requirements, what are the solutions are there for banks who are ready to scale quickly and stay compliant?
Yeah, I think you said it. We have all mentioned there is a boom, in global, in cross-border, instant and payments. I think both customers and businesses are already demanding seamless, frictionless, immediate, 24/7 payments. So I would say SEPA is not just a regulatory tick the box, it's an opportunity, at least in the European region, to redefine the instant payments sector. I was a bit impressed because I've been in recent industry events and I read as well latest Capgemini report from first quarter 2025, and they were saying that only 5% of the European banks have done the technical upgrades and the technical development and that they do require in order to, to shift from 24/7 payments. And what do we do at PagoNxt Payments? Of course, we make it simple for other financial institutions or, non-bank FIs, neobanks, and so far and so on. So we just provide the technology. We've built our software as a service platform. So it's just a plug and play, of course, backed by Santander in this case, with all the reliability that we do have as a bank. And we can offer SEPA SCT and SEPA INST, and we can do this for further entities as a third-party vendor. So, financial institutions really forget about doing all these technical developments, and they really focus on new businesses lines that will bring revenue rather than, double-checking the IT roadmaps and the backlog and dedicating resources and optimizing cost and just, relying on Santander and PagoNxt Payments in order to do this the same way we do offer for SWIFT connectivity as well.
Mm-hmm. Kent, some say that marketplaces are becoming the banks of the future. I don't know if you have any advice as to what they should be doing today to not own, but at least be a relevant player in the payment ecosystem in the future?
Yeah, so this is an absolutely accelerating trend that we're seeing across the digital landscape. We're seeing more and more marketplaces offer financial services, and they're doing it through using service providers like MangoPay, like Pago, in order to embed wallets, payments, and financial services. And we're really starting to see a differentiation in those marketplaces and platforms between the ones that are embedding these services and the ones that aren't. It's a really competitive space. And so those who are not keeping up to speed are going to get left behind by their competitors. It's also providing an opportunity for marketplace and platforms to engage users at another level. They're going beyond just connecting buyers and sellers, and they're able to engage in the business processes and the lives of their users at a much deeper level. This is allowing them to, deliver added financial value. It's allowing, small businesses to build on top of these platforms, serve customers globally and grow locally as well. And so we're seeing real advancements in that trend. And we're starting to see that move away from marketplaces as well into SaaS providers, whether that's in different industries like restauranting, like personal services, trades. We're seeing this across the board. And really, these platforms are becoming a place where people are building their businesses and building their financial lives around.
Silvia, it's impossible to have you here not ask you about AI and how it will improve or change cross-border payments. Is there anything you can say about that?
Yeah, sure. In AI, as you are seeing now worldwide, financial services institutions are entering full in this world to capture all the productivity, efficiency, and customer experience potential. But it is mainly in the fraud detection where we see that we can impact more in payments side. Artificial intelligence is becoming the most powerful tool today to fight against fraud in financial services, mainly in the B2B space, where the value is high and the fraudsters are being more and more sophisticated. In this way, AI, mainly when it's trained with large-scale anonymized data, can identify very complex patterns that humans or static systems miss. In this way, Microsoft Azure AI models analyze every day 1 billion signals across all our ecosystem. For example, users' history, devices metadata, also the transactions history, and with all of this information, we can prevent and detect in real time. This is very relevant at this moment, and we are deploying really important use cases in different financial institutions worldwide.
I'm thinking about how you were saying at the beginning, Maria, how payments, when they're cross-border, they're fragmented, they're slow, they're costly. And I'm thinking, is there any solution out there to, let's say, like have a GPS to make sure that payment is received in the fastest way possible or in the cheapest way possible? I'm not sure if there's anything technologically to serve banks or institutions.
Yes. Of course. And within PagoNxt Payments, we have also built it. I like the expression you mentioned on the GPS. It's called smart routing. So imagine like in a GPS that you want to go to a destination and you want to select the best path, the best way, to avoid, for example, tolls or to go via the highest speed way. Okay, so this is what we have built for cross-border payments. It's a software as a service solution. It's API logic that offers you the cheapest and the fastest and the most reliable route to send a payment. For example, the other day I was sitting with a client and they were telling me, no, I'm sending cross-border payments to the USD to the US, and it's going through two intermediary banks. It goes through Bank of America and then reaching out to JP Morgan. So I'm paying double. It's really costly for me because they didn't have this visibility. So with smart routing, a client can set up its own rules, let's say, this way, its own parameters can be like origin country, destination, specific codes such as urgent payment, of course, even with blacklisted, whitelisted functionality in order to send the cross-border payment. So I would definitely recommend it. Of course, we Santander Bank are already using it in all our geographies, and for example, in geographies such as Brazil that you mentioned before, we are benefiting of 20% and above, cost reductions just because of the use of these new technologies.
Wow. In SMEs, and I'm thinking about customer-first solutions, and SMEs are the backbone of most economies. But how can we make global payments feel local? And this is a question to all of you, in case you have an answer. Silvia, would you like to start?
Yes, this is a really key point in this roundtable. But at the end, SMEs represents the 90% of the global business worldwide. No, at the end, they generate the 50% of the total employment globally, accordingly with the World Bank. In this way, if we want to really change the global payment side for them, for the SMEs, and make all these cross-border payments feel more local, for example, it is important to start with the payment integration. At the end, we need to really restructure all that topic, because at the end, they feel like outliers today with high fees and also limited visibility on what happened. We can incorporate some tools in this way to make feel like local transactions. For example, if we can start to use tools like Azure API management that allows SMEs using the same tools they have today, like for example ERP systems or the e-commerce tools that they have today, to connect to the embedded financial services, and they can instantly and they can use it every day in a very easy way. No? Also, as you have mentioned, it is important all to really reduce the cost they have globally. They can use this AI embedded routing, smart routing tools in order to reduce the cost with conversion rates. For example, with Azure AI, we can really reduce this cost using this kind of technology, because it's able to automate the best route to have the best cost and the timelines. No, this is also really important. We also need to reduce the burden compliance side, no, with automation and also with AI, because we can improve all the process of identity verification, and also all the process of document checks. If we are able to automate all these things, we can reduce from days to minutes all these processes, improving the experience of the users. And talking about the experience of the users, I want to finish mentioning that also we can improve all the language and user experience matters, because with AI and with tools that we have in artificial intelligence, Microsoft, we can, for example, make a translation language automatically, and also the conversion rates automatically, and also monitor all the transactions in real time. With all these changes, we can really improve all the SMEs experience as a local thing, no?
Ken, do you have anything to say in that sense? Like, how can we make feel cross-border payments a bit more local for SMEs?
Yeah, so for me, there's really three things that stand out here. The first one is real-time payments, and we're seeing an explosion of real-time payments globally. I think Brazil is probably one of the best examples. But from our experience at MangoPay, we're also seeing what's happened in the UK with faster payments as well. The platforms and marketplaces that are adopting real-time payments quickly, we're seeing an explosion of economic activity, and that's really driven by them providing these faster settlement times to SMEs. And that's allowing them to turn their business faster, to remove and unlock the liquidity that was tied up in slow payment processes. So that's really the first way. The second way is, I would say, somewhat regulatory around transparency for costs. There's been regulatory changes here, but I think there's also been industry change. The businesses that are exposing and making these costs transparent to SMEs, they're building trust with these SMEs and getting their retained business. These SMEs are committing themselves to these platforms, and they can continuing to come back and grow their business on these platforms. So providing transparency to the cost, and we do this at MangoPay with the platforms we work with, showing them hey, what is the interbank rate? What is the margin I'm paying on this transaction? When will this transaction arrive? And really exposing ultimately what the cost is to the SME. And then finally, I think it's technology adoption. Digital payment providers are really enabling marketplaces and platforms that are serving these SMEs to embed payments, wallets, financial services directly into these platforms. And they're putting that in the process. They're simplifying the user experience. And in simplifying the user experience for these SMEs, they're really taking out some of the complexity and some of, I would say, the fear of working and operating globally, and allowing them to take a step, beyond their local market and grow their business across what is becoming increasingly global.
Just
economy.
to piggyback on your comment, sorry to interrupt you. You said you wanted more regulation, so there's transparency, right? You're the only one who wants more regulation, right?
So I think for me, regulation is two-sided, right? Regulation, it's promoting transparency, but it's also providing a competitive opportunity. The businesses that embrace transparency are going to really see that they build the trust with these SMEs and businesses in general, and they're going to attract platforms more than those that are not exposing the underlying costs.
What about Susana? What do you think?
I mean, I fully agree with the comments from my colleagues here. So just like to reinforce that, in this case, I believe that embedded finance that can provide some automation of payments is crucial, not only for domestic payments, but also for cross-border payments, because this segment has specific needs and they cannot go to multiple providers. So having someone that can provide something that is super specific for these verticals and their needs will for sure improve all the payments. And on top of that, I would say to review the payment flow. So it's not something that they can just define and keep it as it is, because the ecosystem is evolving. So to review the payment flows, the cash flow management, and everything to ensure that they are adopting the latest technology. And then I believe that also Keith has mentioned this. I believe transparency is also key, to know in advance the fees that are going to be applied to try to optimize all the payment flows and the costs.
To build trust, right?
Yeah.
With the customers. And Maria, what about you? What do you think in terms of how can we simplify those cross-border payouts?
So I think our role here should be to reduce this complexity for an SME, okay, and translate it into simplicity. And actually, that's our motto at PagoNxt Payments, just payments made easy, right? So we are working in different solutions so the SME can forget about payments, okay, and everything that goes underneath. So, for example, we have built our own global payout solution. So for an SME, in the end, everyone gets paid and needs to pay out. So from the pay-in to the pay-in, we are covering the whole flow here with the global payout solution. We are able to send cross-border payments in more than 20 currencies and reaching out more than 140 markets as well. In the same way, Mastercard and some other schemes are doing. We build the same. Also with pay-ins as well. So we are helping all these SMEs to really reconcile account-to-account payments with different, submodels, either virtual accounts, either pay by Ralph. And as I mentioned, and I think it was you, Susana, you were talking about embedded finance as a bank within PagoNxt Payments. I think this is what we need to work on in order to make their life much as simple, so they can really focus on how to grow their business rather on building the technology, and of course, taking into account the regulatory perspective, being, that it's what we do.
Just a quick comment. It's interesting how this sector, you can be sitting down next to a competitor who is also your partner. How do you see each other integrating in an ecosystem so that we focus on making payments better for the customer? Do you see us evolving into, players that collaborate more, or is that already happening? Any thoughts on that?
We are collaborating. We are working
This is just
together.
an example, no?
This table, no, is an example exactly of collaboration. And how can we boost for the future together? No, at the end, we are leveraging all our technology with PagoNxt. This is great for us, and we hope to take advantage for all the innovations that we will launch in the coming quarters also.
Yeah, and if you consider, just like to comment on that, if you consider, for example, fraud that we were discussing before, it's all about collaboration. So if we are able to share all this information, we will be able to improve our flows and to be able to detect when things are happening. So yeah, I believe it's key in order to evolve in this ecosystem.
Any thoughts on that, Kent?
Yeah, I mean, we are working with Mastercard, we're working with Microsoft, and I'm sure we're going to work with PagoNxt as well. So, financial services, it's a network of networks, and we're seeing, more and more collaboration between, and we're starting to see a bridge into, stablecoin and other types of technologies that we're also applying to this space. I think that's the basis of financial services. We're connecting the world, and we're going to continue to work together, both locally and globally, because ultimately our interest is in serving the customer and their needs. And that's what they're asking for. That's really what they want.
That's what the customer wants, right? And just a quick question for the last question is to be a little playful and to be a little predictive as to what will happen next. So if you had to name one enabler, technological or strategic, that could truly unlock frictionless global payments between companies in the next 5 years, I know it's pretty tough, what do you think it will be and why? I know what you're going to say, Silvia.
Sure. I will start. For me, it's cloud. Cloud, of course, the lever for the future in payments. We have evidence in the last years, but sure, AI that also moves into cloud will improve and boost the future on payments platforms.
What about you, Kent? What do you think?
Yeah, so for me, I'm not going to choose something regulatory or network-based because I know those things take time and they're moving. For me, really, what's going to see the advancement in the next 5 years is the shift to embedded payments, embedded wallets, and embedded financial services. Simplifying the user experience by using these tools is going to put financial services within the process. Because a lot of the friction for businesses is actually not the payment itself, it's everything that surrounds it. It's payment approvals, it's having the right providers, it's compliance, it's tax, it's reporting. It's these sorts of things that are causing a lot of the friction around payments. And for me, embedding payments within those processes will allow us to streamline them. And ultimately, whether it's for a marketplace that we're working with at MangoPay, who's putting these in their platform, allowing SMEs and other businesses to streamline their financial flows. They're going to generate more income and they become more operationally efficient. And ultimately, that's going to allow them to grow and expand their businesses.
Yeah.
Your turn, Susana.
So I would say artificial intelligence, it's top of mind of all of us here. But I believe that it can play a relevant role when we talk about B2B payments. So if you consider, and you were mentioning this smart routing before, but imagine that we are able to develop tools that can automate all these payments based on different things. And different things is not only of course, a customer needs or the geography or the vertical, but also considering, for example, the terms and conditions that you have with a specific provider or your cash flow needs. So to build that logic and to be able not only to make some recommendations, but also to execute the payments. For me, that would be super relevant in the future.
Maria, what about you?
I'm going to go back to Silvia with the cloud here, and you're going to excuse me, but I think if I need to pick and select one, both, I would say, strategic and technological player, it will be the platform will build, the payments engine will build. It basically centralizes all account-to-account payments processing. So imagine from a instant payment, we've talked about SEPA, we've talked about Bizum or SPAY in Mexico, or even PIX in Brazil. So we are able to process from end to end, from the initiation of the payment, the orchestration, the authorization, and then the exchange with the local scheme or clearing house. You were mentioning about faster payments as well, Ken, in the UK. So from a debit, from an instant payments to a debit transfer or a credit transfer, or even international payments, we are also into the interoperability. We're building, with the smart routing, with the FX logic, of course, everything backed by Santander and our treasury desk. We are building all this technology that is cloud-based. We were born in the cloud, as Silvia was mentioning, not only to serve Santander, our own company, but also now serving the open market. So I would definitely mention that it will be the one I will select without doubt.
Any other question we have not asked until now that we should have asked, and any thoughts you want to share now? It's now or never.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Really, to participate in this roundtable. Thank you for all the comments. I agree with all of them. And thank you for the organization of this roundtable.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Susana. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Silvia. It's been a pleasure. Your wisdom, your time, your energy, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I hope we repeat soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.